Hawaii's fires make history, the worst America has seen in a century. The number of dead has now reached 93, but it's expected to climb much higher.
Emergency teams are still having to go car by car, house by house, searching because there are still about 1,000 people missing on Maui.
Also tonight, more than 500 migrants attempt to cross the channel in a single deadly day as patience wears thin with government policy. Remembering Omar, 25 years on from the very worst of Northern Ireland's troubles. And an encouraging start at Stamford Bridge for the new man in charge as Chelsea fight hard to hold Liverpool to a draw.
This is ITV News with Paul Brand.
Good evening. As rescuers search the ashes for survivors, Hawaii is tonight trying to recover from the most devastating natural disaster in its history. With 93 now confirmed dead, the fires there are also the worst any American state has seen in a century. Of the dead, only a few have been identified and hundreds of people remain missing. And as the full extent of the horror begins to emerge, the state's governor says the death toll will inevitably rise much further. On the island of Maui, our correspondent Peter Smith witnessed the devastation firsthand.
The Maui fires reached homes like these in the middle of the night, when most people were still asleep. This is all that's left of someone's bed here now. Remnants of the fire are still smouldering, leaving a trail of ashes and loss. They continue to count the dead, but the homeless are now well into the thousands.
1, 2, 3, fire strong!
Survivors gather here in makeshift shelters.
I don't know if I'll ever get over it. I lost my town, I lost my house. I mean, I'm not trying to be materialistic, but I mean, these are things I can't replace.
Those who managed to escape, either by road or by jumping into the sea, are now dealing with the grief of finding out which of their neighbours did not make it out alive.
I know some of the people died in the water when I was in the water. So that was really bad. I mean, I have never seen anything like this before. I'm never going to forget it.
The governor of Hawaii was taken into Lahaina today, the town hit hardest on Maui.
This is the largest natural disaster we've ever experienced. It's going to also be a natural disaster that's going to take an incredible amount of time to recover from.
The number killed here has now exceeded America's worst wildfire of the last century, but just 2 of the dead have so far been positively identified. When the fire was hot enough to melt metal like this, the process of recovering victims and informing families is going to take time.
Orange check marks on these vehicles indicate no body was found in here, but emergency teams are still having to go car by car, house by house, searching because there are still about 1,000 people missing on Maui.
Sniffer dogs trained to find bodies have been brought into Maui, but these teams have still only been able to search a tiny part of the fire zone.
They just got here, and so we're going as fast as we can. But just so you know, 3%, that's what's been searched with the dogs, 3%.
With 97% of the burned out buildings still to be searched, it is not just likely, it is inevitable now that the numbers killed will continue to increase. Peter Smith, ITV News, Maui.
Here, the 6 migrants who died in the English Channel yesterday were among more than 500 who attempted the crossing in a single day, according to new Home Office figures. The sheer number of small boat journeys, as well as their fatal consequences, has left both MPs and charities losing patience with government policy. Today, Labour said people smugglers were running rings around ministers. One Tory MP said there was a moral duty to act. From Dover, Charlotte Cross reports.
Clear waters in Dover this afternoon. Little sign of the chaos and tragedy in the Channel yesterday. At least 58 migrants were rescued when their boat sank off the coast of France in the early hours of the morning. 6 others died in the water. It was a terrible end to the government's Small Boats Week, which had intended to highlight progress on curbing channel crossings. But yesterday alone, 10 small boats carrying 509 people made the journey across that water, the very same day that 6 others died while trying to do so. More than 1,000 people crossed the channel on Thursday and Friday too, bringing the total so far for this year to 16,679. And for organisations that work with those who've made the crossing, those numbers are proof that something isn't working. What do you make of the government's policy so far?
We've been here so many times in the last few years. The government seem really determined to stick to this hardline deterrent strategies, this hostile environment. We've been doing that for over a decade now, and the numbers continue to go up. And it's unacceptable. You know, we need a humanitarian approach. These are human beings.
But the government today defended their efforts on their pledge to stop the boats.
The government have been stopping boats. There are record numbers of people arriving in Europe at the moment, but the actual numbers coming from France into the United Kingdom have gone down. There's a lot of work that's been undertaken to achieve that. We're working very closely with the French government now to stop boats being launched. Obviously, we haven't stopped them all. It's going to continue to be a problem, but we have stopped a lot.
Policy aside, high winds appear to have deterred crossings today, with the Coast Guard saying it had not been involved in any incidents so far. But with the shadow of yesterday's news still looming large, campaigners fear without a different approach from the government, the death count in these waters will continue to rise. Charlotte Cross, ITV News.
A car which veered off a road and into a Pembrokeshire campsite last night hit a tent with a baby inside. Emergency services were called to Newgale in West Wales shortly after 10:30 yesterday. It's not thought the child was hurt, but 9 people were injured, 2 seriously. A memorial service has been held in County Tyrone to mark a quarter of a century since the Omagh bombing. 29 people were killed and hundreds more injured when a real IRA car bomb exploded in 1998. It was the biggest single loss of life of Northern Ireland's Troubles. And today, 25 years on, survivors and relatives reflected on the town's enduring trauma. Our senior international correspondent, John Irvine, was at the memorial.
A rose to represent each of the 29 people killed at this spot. 25 years later, the memorial and plaque on Omagh's main street can still stop visitors in their tracks. In the nearby Remembrance Garden, local people, many of them relatives of the dead and survivors, some both, gathered this afternoon to mark this milestone.
25 years ago, the Omagh bomb tore through the fabric of our town, leaving behind unimaginable pain and devastation. The memories of that fateful afternoon are etched into our collective consciousness.
Omagh's heart was ripped out at 3:10 on a busy Saturday afternoon. Not only was it the deadliest atrocity of the Troubles, it was also the most extensive, for it killed men, women and children, locals and foreigners, Protestants and Catholics, and neither. Michael Gallagher, who lost his son Aidan, believes the nature of the Omagh attack effectively sounded the death knell for terrorism.
Those people declared war on an unsuspecting civilian population, left the bomb, left the people of Omagh. They went into a situation that no human being should ever have to deal with, lifting body parts and dealing with that hell on earth that they had to deal with.
The inevitable passage of time means the Omagh atrocity may never be remembered in such a big way again. 25 years have passed already, but it still hurts. John Irvine, ITV News, in Omagh.
In other news, the Health Secretary's angered devolved governments by suggesting patients in Wales and Scotland could be seen in England if they're waiting too long for treatment. Steve Barclay's offers sparked a row over NHS performance in different parts of the UK. Rishi Sunak has made cutting record waiting lists one of his 5 key pledges. Pubs in England and Wales will be allowed to continue selling takeaway drinks. The government's extended the COVID licensing rules that were initially put in place to restrict the spread of the virus. The regulations had been due to expire in September. And a former sailor, believed to be the Royal Navy's last veteran of Dunkirk, has died at the age of 102. Lawrence Churcher was honoured for his part in the evacuation of Dunkirk in 1940 and was described today as a truly remarkable man. Sport now, and Tottenham began life without their all-time top scorer Harry Kane with an entertaining 2-2 draw away at Brentford.
Or was he? No. Wow, the shot is a good one. The shot is a great one from Emerson Royal.
All the goals came in the first half. Defender Emerson Royal scored Tottenham's equaliser in stoppage time to give his side a point. At Stamford Bridge, two of the big clubs met head-on in their opening matches of the new season. Chelsea and Liverpool both failed to hit the heights last season, and they have something else in common too. Neither, it seems, knows how to beat the other. Today was the 7th successive draw between the two. Chris Scudder was watching.
Chelsea's new coach Mauricio Pochettino swept into Stamford Bridge with a mission to improve on massive underachievement last season. Jurgen Klopp too, and both these giants looked much better here. Liverpool making a flying start.
Diaz, it's a super goal!
After 4 successive goalless draws between these two, we could have had 4 goals in the first half, but Salah's second for Liverpool was wiped out by VAR. Offside, just. If Chelsea's big spending has yet to pay off, here was an exception. On his debut, new French signing Axel Disasi scoring a joyful equaliser. It might have got even better for Chelsea. Moments later, Ben Chilwell scored as well, only for VAR to intervene again, offside by a fraction. But the Blues looked much improved under the new boss and might have come back to win it.
Chilwell!
Liverpool might have snatched it too. Núñez inches away from a late winner. But optimism's back for both, and the game ended as it started with a warm and satisfied embrace from the men in charge. Chris Scudder, ITV News.
And that's it for this evening. Good Morning Britain will be back from 6 a.m. and you can find more updates on ITVX. But from all of us here on the weekend team, have a very good night.
First thing today will be lovely and warm, and by breakfast time it could be on the sunny side. Heinz tomato ketchup, no added sugar and salt, sponsors ITV National Weather.
Hello and a very good evening to you. Hope you're all keeping well. So we are expecting something calmer and much warmer as we go towards the middle part of the week, but ahead of it, still looking fairly messy out there. So we've got low pressure driving this system northeastwards as we go through tonight. So a lot of cloud around, outbreaks of rain across many parts of England and Wales, and some of that will be heavy in places too. And it is a muggy one with those temperatures between 12 and 17 degrees. So quite a stuffy start to the day tomorrow morning. A lot of cloud around, further outbreaks of rain, and again some of that rain could be heavy in places. For Scotland and Northern Ireland, it's a case of sunny spells and showers as we go through Monday, and when we get the sunshine tomorrow, we're still feeling rather warm out there. Highs up to around 22 degrees. 22 is 72 in Fahrenheit. And then if you like the heat, well, as the week continues, high pressure expected to take control again, so plenty of dry weather to come, and those temperatures will be rising. Bye-bye.
Heinz tomato ketchup, no added sugar and salt, sponsors ITV National Weather.
Whatever the weather, it always feels like home. Valent Heat Pumps and Boilers sponsor ITV London Weekend Weather.
Hello there. Very good evening to you. Across the capital today and through much of the weekend, there's been a few bright spells around here and there. Lighter winds today has meant it felt, if you have seen the sunshine, fairly pleasant, but there's also been a scattering of showers. But most of those showers are set to fade overnight tonight, but all change for tomorrow. More cloud and outbreaks of more persistent rain, this time moving in from the south and west. Could be quite heavy for a time as well, but if we do see some sunshine, there's a lot of mild and humid air in here, so temperatures could peak into the low to mid-20s. But as we go through the rest of this evening and overnight, it is going to turn fairly messy, particularly by dawn tomorrow morning. Notice the heavier bursts of rain shown by the brighter colours on the chart here, and temperatures as your overnight lows around 15 to 16 degrees. So a little soggy to start on Monday morning, quite a bit of spray on the roads, possibly making some difficult driving conditions. But through tomorrow, it will be on and off. A sporadic day with those bands of rain pushing their way through, and not too windy either. So temperatures around 22 to 23 degrees Celsius, 73 in Fahrenheit. As we go through the remainder of the week, high pressure does start to build in, which means a little bit drier, brighter, and if you look at those temperatures as well, it looks like we could be seeing something into the mid to upper 20s. But don't hold your breath, it won't last for too long. Bye-bye.
Vaillant Heat Pumps and Boilers sponsor ITV London Weekend Weather.